The ANC is in charge. Those who are complaining must acknowledge this fact, that the ANC is in charge. Relax. That's me paraphrasing the words of the state president, Honorable Cyril Ramaphosa, immediately after signing the Land Expropriation Act into law. If you think carefully about that statement, you will realize that whilst the Land Expropriation Act is land issue, let me say that, is a legitimate issue that requires urgent attention. Actually, that's long overdue. That land issue in this occasion was being used for political expediency. It was being used by the president to placate the RET faction within the ANC and alliance structures. It was meant to silence, the act of signing the Land Expropriation Act was meant to silence those who were accusing the president of having sold out by virtue of forming a GNU government that includes the DA as the main partner in that formation. What is interesting is that although the message was not really meant for the general public, but in a way that was telling us that despite our loss of majority, of electoral majority, we are still in charge. It's still business as usual. To the alliance, the message, the RET faction, the message was very clear. Why are you still complaining? We are still in charge. I've just signed the Land Expropriation Act without bothering to consult GNU partners. We are still in charge, so we haven't sold out. Keep quiet. This was a political gambit. For me, that statement that was made, that I've just paraphrased, is my receipt. It's my evidence to say that the illegitimate issue of land was used for political expediency to placate alliance partners who were complaining about the president having sold out, in having led the process of forming the GNU that included the DA instead of the EFF and MK parties, ANC splinter formations. Now, what the president did not foresee and include in his political calculus was the foreign element, was the fact that this signing would attract the attention of Donald Trump. That was what the president did not include in his political calculus, because his political action was made for domestic consumption, the alliance partners in particular. Now, that political gambit backfired big time. That is why perhaps we find ourselves in this situation where our aid from the US has been cut off prematurely, and we have become a target for more punitive sanctions by a president who is leading a fascist, a white supremacist government in the US. And I'm saying prematurely because it was definitely going to come, because I don't think the reasons that Donald Trump cites in the executive order are the legitimate ones. Remember, Donald Trump ran on the ticket of giving the donors, the big donors, the rich, the billionaires like himself, giving himself and his peers big tax cut. So when you see Musk and Donald Trump scrambling, shutting down US aid, which only has got the budget of US aid, although it looks like it's more, if you look at what they are able to do around the world, as a percentage of the budget of the USA is 0 point something, less than 1%. 1% maximum. They are cutting everything. They are firing workers left and right because they want to use the savings to make up for the increase in the budget deficit of the USA, precipitated by tax cuts. So the irony with Trump punishing us under the pretext that we are discriminating against white Afrikaners, we are taking land away from white Afrikaner. The irony is that he himself, he and Elon Musk, are engaged in an onslaught against minorities. They are firing minorities left and right, and they are threatening the private sector to follow suit. And it is happening. The private sector is bending the knee. They are complying. They are firing, like your corporate media, they are firing anchors. These corporate medias are firing journalists, news anchors from minority groups, especially African Americans. So that is my take. That is my receipt. That we are here fighting this battle, running battles with the USA or around sanctions. We have sustained cuts in HIV/AIDS programs because of a political gambit that went wrong. And that has made us premature targets of discontinuation of funding support by Donald Trump. Although it is my contention that these cuts were going to come anyway, because Elon Musk and Donald Trump, unless they are stopped by the courts, they don't want anything to do with US aid, because those agencies are eating into the money that can help pay for the tax breaks, tax cuts to the very rich in the United States of America. So South Africa, we have had a role, our government has had a role in it. The way they've conducted themselves has made us soft targets, telling the USA to go to hell, we are a sovereign nation, and tomorrow sending a delegation to the US with a begging bow, provoking the US by flirting with Russia and taking policy stance that seemed to antagonize the foreign policy of the US. That is my take. Rendani is the voice in the wilderness. That is my take on the standoff between us and the USA.